Uh, Good morning, dzień dobry. I would like to present a presentation about evolution of quality assurance from building quality concept to future with artificial intelligence. My name is Piotr Szczepaniuk. I'm Polish, I speak Polish, but I would like to prefer make demo of this presentation in English because I can present that later for a bigger audience. So let's start. Few words about my bio, my experience. I work many years, more than 16 years, as QA on various roles. I've been manual tester, software developer, but most of my career, I was a test automation engineer. In the last year, I focus more on quality management. I've been head of QA. I work for big, well-known high-tech companies like Samsung, Ericsson. Before I worked for Danish company Ørsted, and right now I'm working as a senior team lead for ASECO Solution German department, which develop ERP solutions. Okay, so what is the birth of building quality concept? Actually, the father of building quality concept is William Edwards Deming, who is American statistician living in 20th century. And this concept is saying that control doesn't improve quality. If we checking quality at the end of the process, just before production phase or even after production phase, we are finding bugs. We know that we have issue with our software, but it doesn't improve quality. We just assess quality. And quality, good or bad, is already in a product. So, and it is too late to fix it because we are too late in the process. We just at the end of the cycle. It will make much more sense to embed quality checks, embed quality much more before during requirement coding phase, because then we have enough time to fix issues. This is also connected to the shift-left testing concept, which saying, let's test, find bugs as soon as possible, even during writing requirements. If you have good quality requirements, then you can even avoid injection of the bugs during development. So just looking on the standard software development lifecycle, and if you can imagine that you have bug which can be even found during writing requirements. We can avoid injecting of this bug. How much it costs to put a few lines into requirements text? Probably is not too expensive. It may cost like 15 minutes of project owner time. Let's say this bug costs like $10. But if we do not consider that this bug should be included in the requirements, and we are finding this bug later during coding, building phase, then the bug will cost more. It may cost like $65. And the worst case is that if we just finding bug just before deployment to the production on the test environment, or even in production, then the same bug will cost $1,000. So you can see that if we just shift left test and we start testing building quality area, we will save a lot of time and money. And the 85% of bugs actually defects injected during development phase. So if we could just during development phase by using some techniques avoid and find these bugs and fix those bugs early, then this is very efficient way and will mitigating risk that something will be missed later. Of course, not all bugs can be found during coding. Some bugs we can only find during system testing and release testing, but we can limit number of the issues which we have. If we have a look on evolution of building quality, which is based on behavior-driven development. Behavior-driven development, it is concept that's saying that we should, on very early stage, write acceptance criteria for our user stories or feature in the specific format recommended is Gherkin language. And if we have clear acceptance criteria, which making sure that this new requirement can be developed, can be tested, and can be validated, then this is like the precondition for test-driven development, which is a practice used usually by development teams, that we are writing a test first and putting and writing implementation of this code later. So we can find immediately during coding some issues and fix those issues. And all of those should be a part of the continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. So we should make sure that if we have any unit integration test or end-to-end test, those tests should be part of CI/CD pipelines. I will talk a little bit more details for a moment. And what is important, and this is always starting point, that we need to, at the beginning, start from some kind of education, coaching, making sure that we as a whole team are responsible for quality. So usually I'm performing the training, and the objective of this training is to understand the value of building quality, understand that building quality is process with some kind of set of activities, and understand that we are not working in silos, as there are no like developers, tester, or product owners. We just team members. And the goal of this training is thinking long term, to change the mindset of the people, to learn them, educate about like how we can build in quality by practicing TDD, and by making sure that we practice behavior-driven development, how it may happen. So thinking long-term, the user story cycle time should go down, so we should be able to deliver our value faster with the highest quality. We should always think about testing first. This slide is taken from Scaled Agile Framework, which is explaining what building quality actually means in details. And building quality is a way of getting feedback as soon as possible. So let's imagine that you have customer, which is the most important person in development process. And all Scrum teams, development team, should make sure that we deliver value to the customer. So how we can get feedback and understand customer needs? We can use lean UX. If we have UI UX designers, he can design a user interface which is not yet functional, but allowed to show and get feedback to the customer. Sometimes customers doesn't know what they want. We need to help them. We need to create some kind of prototype. So we can create prototype of user interface. We can also focus on describing some kind of stories and acceptance criteria, how our system should look like. If we define acceptance criteria, then it will be input for development teams who are practicing test-driven development. So they start writing some unit integration tests, but also I've been in a teams when developers are been writing also end-to-end tests. They can base on input from acceptance criteria, write the right test which should fulfill business requirements, and everything should be put into the backlog. We should put everything into the backlog, and this backlog should be automated in CI/CD pipelines. Okay, let's make a short example what actually test-driven development means, because I very often had situation that somebody heard about test-driven development, but actually understood it incorrectly. So let's imagine that we have user story that I'm weak in math, and I would like to add two numbers using calculator. So what we are starting at the beginning, we are starting from writing the first test, which is in the red phase. Red phase means that we are writing the test, but we do not have yet functionality. So developers starting to write simple unit tests, which will add two numbers and will check that the result of those two numbers will be 4. And at the beginning, because we didn't implement it yet, the code which will add those numbers, of course, it will fail. And when the test is written, is ready, we started writing the first test, then we implement the logic. We implement the method which adding two numbers. And then we are repeating the same test which we write, but we are calling the method with implemented functionality. Those time we have managed to pass this test, which proving that our method is working. Then we can refactor code. We can change the name of the method without changing behavior of our feature. And then we can move to the second test. So in the first test, we just added two positive numbers, but what will happen if we will add a negative value with a positive value? We wrote this test, we executed it, and we notice, okay, we are not, it's not working, it's failing. It doesn't allow to add negative values. That's why we need to write another method or refactor existing methods to make sure that our method allowed to add also negative values. Then we repeat our test, and then we are moving again to the green phase, and then we can do some kind of refactoring. Refactoring is means cleaning up our code, making it better without changing of the behavior of our code. And then we repeat and this code in a loop. And it is always recommended that we should rerun all previous developed tests. And over the time, when we have a huge number of unit integration tests, it might be also end-to-end tests, then we have the safety net. So developers is not afraid to add new functionality, because always he's rerunning all previous tests to make sure that the functionality and user story which worked before still should work. So we can have more user stories, and we should always rerun on previous tests. And if we break something, immediately we have feedback. This user story stopped to failing, so we need to check the code. Maybe sometimes we need to also change the test. So this is the concept of test-driven development. And if we have a look on CI/CD pipelines, all unit tests, integration tests, end-to-end tests should be built in and should be part of CI/CD pipeline. So if on development environment, if we put unit tests and some unit tests will be failing, development environment will be red and will stop, and we cannot move to the next environment. But if all unit tests are passing, then we're focusing on some integration, end-to-end, security, user acceptance tests. Only when all of those tests will pass, that means that this system is good enough to be promoted to the staging environment, which is like should be copy of the production. So here we can also have some kind of monitoring test. This is very important slide, that if you are working as a, let's say you're a test automation engineer, you have a broad unit test with some popular test automation tools like Selenium, Cypress, Playwright. To have a very light set of the test, I call it smoke test, which is always run for every change. And usually these light test cases, those smoke tests, they should be executed for every CI/CD pipeline, for every change, which allowed you to give the quick feedback. And based on the Pareto right, if you have like 20% of test cases which testing 80% of the functionality, still is bringing a lot of value. And during the night you can run the full set of your end-to-end test, but if some tests will fail, then we can live with it, we can address it for later. And it is very important to, on early stage of software development, to start building smoke tests, which are smoke end-to-end tests, the light version of our test, which should always work. They cannot like fail, because they're checking the basic functionality of our system, like login. If you cannot, for instance, login, then we should stop development and we should fix it immediately. Right now, testers and quality assurance department is not just responsible for running tests. It is also responsible to impact on developers to use some good coding practices. I'm a big fan of pair programming. We should always make sure that developers, at least two people looking and pair programming together. There's also a concept that you can pair programming between developer and tester, who can, for instance, review the unit test or integration test. Plus, we should use also some good coding practices. For instance, using Sonar Cloud, which is static code analyzer. So developer, when he is developing on his integrated environment, he can immediately analyze his code and get quick feedback automatically about the quality of a code. A lot of useful good coding practices are forced by using just integrated development environments like IntelliJ Visual, or by using ChatGPT, which is like second part of this presentation. We focus on how artificial intelligence can help us with improving of quality and building quality in the future. And one of last slide with introduction to building quality is, it is also very important to define definition of done and also definition of ready. What we are expecting when we are closing story. We need to agree between team. We need to define when story can be closed, when feature can be closed, when release can be closed. Plus, also ensure security of release by using some tools which also are running security scanning. And how to measure building quality? Based on my many years of experience, only one thing which I know is measuring number of bugs, measuring number of passing tests is not the best metric, because bugs and tests are usually executed by humans, and we are making mistake. They're very subjective. And it is much more better to measure the process and check during this measurement where quality is built in. And if you have a look, one of the techniques which I have used is to scan all CI/CD pipelines which we have in our company. And if you have a look here, we would like to scan all CI/CD pipelines and check Do we have in our CI/CD pipeline unit test? Do we have code coverage report? Do we have integration test? Do we have Sonar Cube connected? So simply speaking, we are checking that quality is built into the code. We are scanning and checking that we have quality gates in our process. And if we, you can be amazed for the first review of your CI/CD pipelines that so many pipelines are missing automated tests. Many of them we don't know what code coverage is. And I will recommend to start at the beginning, also check which CI/CD pipelines have static code analyzer connected. In this case, Sonar Cube, Sonar Cloud is the most popular. Plus, you can have more metrics, but when you are defining some KPIs for quality, focus on the process. Do not focus because this is like based on the real raw data. This is not that's giving you the real functionality. We don't want to focus on how many bugs we are fighting. We want to make sure that we already build in quality into the process, and we should measure how much quality was built in. And you can always define more advanced techniques, but start from something simple, at least to check where we have unit tests. Do we using static code analyzer? Okay, let's have short demo. I would like to show you how easy it is to set up test automation framework from the scratch, from installation to running those tests with this modern tool, like for instance Playwright. I made research recently and POC and compare, like not recently, it was like 2 years ago when we compared different test automation tools, Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, and Playwright won generally. And after time, looking on the presentation from the session, I can see a lot of presentation are about Playwright. And let me show you how easy it is to start running test automation framework. I sharing right now like the video with installation of Playwright. The whole installation of Playwright without like stopping taking like 3 minutes. If you go to the official Playwright documentation page, you can see how to install this test automation tool, which is open source, which is owned by Microsoft, for Node.js, Python, Java, .NET, so all popular languages. But I will recommend to use Node.js because Node.js has the most of the feature. At the beginning, they had just Node.js, and the whole idea of using Playwright is to be as closer to development as possible. And frontend usually is written in JavaScript and TypeScript. So the best if you have like you are working on the selection on the tool language which you would like to use, probably Playwright will be one of the best idea to be select. And it is always the best that test automation is written in the same language like the user interface is written. So by executing one simple command, npm init Playwright, this is the latest version, it will automatically install Playwright, install all Chrome browsers for use. In the during installation process, it will ask you a few questions: which version you would like to install, do you want to use TypeScript, JavaScript. It will it will ask you, do you want to have put some example end-to-end tests? Do you want to automatically generate GitHub workflows in this project, just to start? And after a few minutes, it's downloading all browsers. It's supporting Chromium, Firefox, and Safari with a WebKit engine. you have a test automation framework with example test ready to be used, and you can, after installation, you can execute another command, npx playwright test, which will run tests for you. And in the last steps, you can see also the report from those. So as you can see, in this basic report, we can see that the same test was executed on 3 browsers. All tests have passed, and if you go deeper, you can also check like every single test. You can go into details, but I will show a bit more in the next presentation. So about 3 minutes is needed for, let's say 4 minutes is needed with explanation for installation. And if we have a look and run and try to understand one simple test. So by default, Playwright installing also set of the test. And this is a short demo how to write playwright test and understand the basic test. In this example, there is demo page, which is the page where you are able to add some to-do items. You can add some actions which you need to do in the future. When you enter them, you can select that this one is done. You can also do some kind of sorting. So this is very basic application just to show you how automation is working. And in this step, by default, there's one simple test already written, which is adding 2 to-do items and checking that we are able to add to-do items. So in this test, what is really cool, we can also do debugging directly in a browser. So I have put breakpoint, and then I'm starting running this test. Important thing is you need to install in Visual Studio, in Visual Code, Playwright test for VS Code extension. It will also allow you to automatically generate test cases. And when you have this plugin installed, then you can, from this list, you can run test. You can see that the tests automatically have run. It stop on the breakpoint. It's looking for this new to-do selector. And if we back to our Visual Code, we can see that the breakpoints stop on this selector. We need to enter some data, like buy some cheese, click enter, and then the first item will be added to to-do list. And what is nice with this, it's showing you selectors. So if some selector are missing, you can even fix it directly during debugging the code. So right now we entered the first to-do item, and we are also checking that this to-do item actually was added. We just checking this view label here, and we are checking the text that was added to make sure that this functionality is working. Then we adding the second item, and we are running this test. And at the end, we're checking 2 to-do items that have been added to our to-do list. And at the end, test should, after checking and that everything was added, the test should pass. Scroll it. We can always debug. We can check details during debugging our Visual Code, what happened, what was added. And if we back to our test visualization is green, we can see that the first test was run. And we can reuse this test and develop our own test. One benefit of this kind of Playwright or Cypress, which is quite similar to Playwright, but you can start developing test automation frameworks quite fast. So there is like installation is taking few minutes. Debugging, running the first test is very quick. You are able to generate reports, and you can have also reporting. And in this reporting, you can go to the specific line of the code. You can check what happened. And you can also record screenshot if something is failing, or you can even record video. So I recorded the video because I was debugging, so it took like 4 minutes, but it is much more like faster if I do not use breakpoints. But here we can see exactly what happened. This is very useful when you have CI/CD pipelines and running your tests in CI/CD pipelines, and some tests have failed, and you don't have clue idea what happened, why it failed. Then you just can play the video, check the screenshot, check the logs, and see what happened. Okay, let's talk about right now more about the future. So as you probably know, and probably you're using right now, ChatGPT allowed to do some kind of artificial intelligence check. And I have tried this exercise. I was curious what will happen. My idea was I would like to, with ChatGPT from the beginning, first define requirements, test cases automatically with ChatGPT by giving simple prompt that I have a page like this one. This page is for planning to do task. Please prepare a test plan written in Gherkin format. It might be any format. Playwright is very good in changing one format to other format. This test plan should contain some smoke tests, like I described before, some basic tests to start, which are critical from business perspective and should validate the following features on the websites. I just add few following features in the natural language, which I would like to check. So the page should be working, should be loaded. This is like the first thing. We should be able to, with to-do items, we can add to to-do list. We should be able to remove from this to-do list. We should be able to select as a completed to-do type. Also, those which are completed can be cleared. We should be able to display as all active completed, and whatever. I even ask ChatGPT, give me other example of validation. What he will figure out, and he can write something like this in Gherkin format. And I review it, and it generally makes sense for me that this scenario that we are verifying that the page is loading. Given I open this to-do MVP application, that the page should be successfully loaded. It makes sense, it's easy, and it looks quite good. And there is also some kind of example to add to-do items. So I'm checking that I'm able to add things to this to-do list, and then it's even proposing me to add some to-do with some titles. Then the to-do list should contain this item. Next step, I would like to, so it has generated for me a test plan in the specific format. We can change this format if we don't like BDD style. We can use any spreadsheet format, whatever. And based on those examples, I have asked ChatGPT to generate for me unit tests. This is something what is usually done by developers. And it generates generally unit tests based on this given when then description. Of course, we need to adjust it because the name of the classes, methods might be different, but at least we have template. My understanding of using ChatGPT and AI in the future is like that we need to learn how to use ChatGPT or AI, but it will be for us sub-automation. I don't believe it will AI allowed us to do AI allowed to build like the small blocks, like in the Lego. It's allowed to you build blocks, but it doesn't know how to connect those blocks to build a huge building. This is limitation of AI. So we can also develop unit tests. I have checked based on this test plan and based on this Gherkin scenario. I have tried to generate also end-to-end code. It might be in various languages, but I have requested for like Playwright, and actually it generated for me this code. And next, I would like to execute this code and check if this code is working. But I assume in this project that I don't have experience with Playwright. So I have asked, could you please help me set up from the scratch environment to execute the first two scenarios? So it just told me step by step what I need to execute, what folder should I do, how to initialize project, how to run this test. Actually, this is like 3 commands which allow to run this test. And what was really fun during this exercise, it worked. It generally worked, and I was just asking questions and just copying what AI did for me. And in next step, I have asked to do some kind of refactoring because it wrote for me some tests in Playwright, but I would like to use BDD layer. So I would like to include Cucumber, which is used for this BDD layer to transform feature files written in this given when then format to the code. And it has managed to generate for me and refactor existing code to be compatible with Cucumber. And also with the this code didn't work. For the first time, I need to a little bit change it. So you cannot you need to always validate what ChatGPT generating for you. You need to know something, how it's working. Sometimes you need to ask and get response few times before it will generate exactly what you want. But still, after getting feedback to ChatGPT, at some point it responded with the working code. At the end, I have asked ChatGPT, okay, so we have test plan, we have unit tests, we have end-to-end tests, and I would like to put this into CI/CD pipeline. So it has generated for me the YAML file. I've been using Azure DevOps, it might be GitLab, whatever. And this YAML file, generally you can execute on any build server. So that's also working quite well. So benefit of using and just summary of using of ChatGPT in test. For a simple project which you're starting from the scratch, it is very easy to create simple test plan, automate test, run test locally, run it in CI/CD pipeline. Previously, if I had to start the project from the beginning, probably I need to have support of test manager, some test automation engineer, developer for writing unit tests, and I approximate it will take few 2 weeks to set up it. I made this whole exercise in 1 hour. So you can count how much time you save. And then I don't need to meet between different people. There's a lot of downtime that you need to wait for somebody, then this person will respond. It just burning your time. ChatGPT, you don't need to set up meetings. For the simple thing, for the simple project to start, it is a good solution to use ChatGPT. But it's not only about benefits. There is also some limitation of using ChatGPT, which you are aware. Let's imagine that you have already working project, which is quite complex, which is very business related. So probably ChatGPT, because ChatGPT doesn't understand the business context. You cannot like easily use ChatGPT to refactor this complicated test framework. But what you can at least do, you can probably refactor the small bits of this complicated test project. Like I said at the beginning, it's already ChatGPT is good enough for like the small blocks of bigger system to be developed. But it is not intelligent enough to work on the whole system. But we are at the beginning of the journey, so I think as faster we'll jump to it, over the time, as it will be more intelligent and will be able to connect dots between those missing parts. And how I see future of AI. So there are like few potential points and areas where I think AI will be good for test automation. It should increase, it should recognize, it allows to recognize patterns and dynamically adapt tests to changing code. One example is very often in test automation, you cannot find selectors. Right now, it is automatically looking on the right elements, and even if the selector doesn't exist, it can figure out and click the element based on other selectors. It's good also for error. I think for error detection, there's a lot of potential. It can already fix some simple bugs, performance scalability testing, real-time quality control. So with AI, in real time, we can intelligently monitor the working system. And it's also good for exploratory testing because with assist of AI, we can automate visual testing and try to define the best scenarios for testing. Plus, because this is AI is very good in analyzing big data. If you have access to the customer data, you can analyze them, and based on those information from the data, it can figure out the best test cases. And this is the future of testing with AI, but I already compare with the existing solutions. So for error detection, you can use GitHub Copilot, for instance, which is able to recognize some common code errors and offers developers suggestions and fixes. SonarQube also allowed for it as well. And for every of those example, like for exploratory testing, TestSim is used. The only problem with those tools is that they are commercial. But I think it's only matter of time when more tools will be open source with AI functionality. Like I said, we are still at the beginning of this phase. Thank you. Now it's time for your question. I'll try to answer them. And if you can take your mobile phone, you can scan a contact to my LinkedIn profile. I advise you to just send me invitation. I always accepting just to make sure that we are staying in contact. Plus, in a chat, facilitator of this meeting can also share link. I already seen it was shared, so you can click so link. Please ask me for connection. And right now it's time for questions. So I'm just checking chat right now if we have any questions related to it. Okay. I can see. First question. QA from FB. What do you think the future will looks like for tester, mainly in the context of AI? I think, like I said before, we should start learning prompt asking question to the AI, and in the future, I think this is like that the role of manual testers will increase, and the role of test automation tester will might be decrease a bit, because with AI you can automatically generate like automated scripts. So the role of this business analyst tester should be better, and you need to start learning how to automatically, for instance, based on the requirements, generate test cases with AI. That will be skills needed in the future, and tester will be, I think, connecting dot. So AI is allowed to build one Lego block, but doesn't allow to connect those blocks together. But still, I think I see future for testers. It will just change the way how we are working. Okay. Next question. Mutu Testi. If we automate everything and have full code coverage, what should be the next step? I don't believe we'll automate everything. What do you mean by we are able to cover every single line of the code, but at the end, you cannot automate the quality of the unit test. This is something which is not possible. So, answering your question, let's say you automated 100% of code, but you can write and run the same for the same line of the code different test scenarios, and I think that will be the next step. Okay, I'm just checking. Next question. How do you use AI in your work? How much do you verify data obtained in this way? Really good question. Actually, in my work, I'm working with quite complex projects. And what AI is really good is about generating test cases based on the bug. Just to give you an example, I'm using Power BI. I created a script which taking bug, which checking to which component it is related, and by reading the bug, it's automatically generating test cases. If you will repeat this exercise for all your bugs, then you can create nice test suites, which is based on the bugs. This is one example. Another example how I'm using it is migration of the code from Selenium to another like tool like Playwright. This is also something which Playwright is good enough. And the last example is regular expression. It is you are saving a lot of time if you will say what regular expression you should generate, and you can probably have more and more examples, but you need to test it, you need to work with that, and you will figure out the best use cases for you. Kamil Tylcha asked, have you ever worked with GitHub Copilot in context of writing automated tests? We have pilot project for Copilot in my organization, but I never work with this. It is done by developers, so I would like to say yes, but we are in too early stage. Developers are using Copilot, and I think this is also the future, which should be done. I don't have much experience because it is used by developers. Okay. Przemysław Papis. What about the risk associated with ChatGPT collecting data? Many companies don't allow data to be entered into ChatGPT for fear of this. we had this problem, and still this is something which we didn't solve it, but there's solution, but quite expensive solution, that you can take tools similar to ChatGPT and run them locally on your local environment. But the problem is you need to have a lot of resources for that to use and learn this tool for that. So this is journey. We don't have great solution that you would like to take ChatGPT and use on your local environment. It is quite expensive right now, but I think in the future it should be cheaper. But this is the challenge. Okay, no more question. Thank you very much for questions and presentation. If I didn't manage to answer all questions, please contact me, write me message via LinkedIn. And this presentation will be available on YouTube and Facebook. So thank you very much for joining. I wish you good the rest of presentations. Thank you.